No matter how much you do or how hard you try, there's a voice inside that whispers the same painful line. It's still not enough. I'm still not enough. This feeling isn't a flaw in your character. It's the result of deep psychological patterns shaped long before adulthood. And once you understand why your brain does this, the pressure finally starts to make sense. The original blueprint you didn't choose. Long before you had goals or standards, your brain was learning what it needed to do to feel safe. In childhood, the nervous system watches everything: what earns connection, what causes tension, and what makes adults pull closer or pull away. If approval felt inconsistent, your brain created its first survival rule. If I do well, I'm okay. If I don't, something's wrong with me. Neurologically, this is simple conditioning. Approval gives dopamine, disapproval raises cortisol. Your brain links performance with safety because it's trying to avoid emotional threat, not impress anyone. And it doesn't take a harsh home for this to happen. Achievement-focused praise, distant adults, or households where mistakes felt big can quietly train a child to measure their worth by performance. By adulthood, the rule feels automatic. You don't wonder, did I try my best? You wonder, why doesn't this feel like it's enough? That question isn't coming from today. It's coming from a blueprint your brain created decades ago. The comparison trap your brain loves. Your brain compares you to other people, automatically, not because you're insecure, but because comparison used to be a survival skill. The oldest parts of the mind constantly scan for where you rank, who seems stronger, safer, or more successful, and what you need to do to belong. In the modern world, that instinct has nowhere to rest. Instead of comparing yourself to a small group, your brain now compares you to millions of people online, most of them showing their best moments, filtered achievements, and polished wins. Neurologically, your mind interprets this as evidence that you're falling behind, even when you aren't. And because comparison activates the same threat circuits as physical danger, your brain reacts with stress, self-doubt, and the familiar thought, why am I not enough? The trap isn't that you compare yourself, it's that your brain was never designed for endless comparison in the first place. The achievement high that fades too fast. Every time you accomplish something, your brain gives you a quick hit of dopamine, a small burst of reward that feels good but disappears fast. This isn't personal, it's biology. The brain adapts quickly to any accomplishment, no matter how big, and resets your baseline almost immediately. So, the goal you worked so hard for only feels satisfying for a moment before your mind shifts to the next expectation. This creates a cycle where every achievement feels smaller than it should, and every success feels temporary. Instead of feeling proud, your brain decides you haven't done enough yet. And because the reward fades faster each time, you start chasing the next accomplishment just to feel stable again. Not fulfilled, just okay. The inner critic that never shuts up. The voice in your head that points out flaws, mistakes, and shortcomings isn't you being harsh. It's your brain trying to protect you. The mind develops an internal critic as a way to prevent embarrassment, rejection, or failure by warning you before anyone else can. Neurologically, this comes from the brain's negativity bias. It pays more attention to what could go wrong than what's going well. Over time, that protective instinct turns into a constant stream of self-monitoring, scanning every move for possible mistakes. The problem is that the critic never learned to update itself. It still reacts like a small error will lead to a major consequence. So instead of guiding you, it starts grading you, and the grade is almost always not enough. Your brain isn't trying to tear you down, it's trying to keep you safe. It just hasn't realized you're allowed to live without fear. The fear behind perfection. Perfectionism rarely comes from wanting to be exceptional. It comes from wanting to avoid something painful. Beneath the pressure to do everything right is the fear of rejection, embarrassment, failure, or being truly seen and judged. The brain treats these emotional risks like actual danger because the same neural circuits that process physical threat also respond to social threat. So, perfection becomes a form of self-protection. If you can make no mistakes, you can't be criticized. If you meet every expectation, no one can leave. If you stay in control, nothing unpredictable can hurt you. The problem is that the fear never stops moving the target. No matter what you do, perfection keeps raising the standard to keep you safe. And in trying to avoid pain, your brain accidentally builds the belief it's trying hardest to outrun. I'm still not enough. The myth of the ideal self. Somewhere in the background of your mind, there's a version of you that's flawless. The ideal self your brain built over years of expectations, comparisons, and imagined standards. This version always says the right thing, makes the right choices, looks a certain way, succeeds without slipping, and never disappoints anyone. The problem is that this ideal you isn't real. It's a construction created from fragments of praise, criticism, social pressure, and the highlight reels you see around you. Neuroscience shows that the brain forms this imagined self as a way to guide behavior, but it forgets to adjust it to reality. So every day, your real self is silently compared to a version of you that no human could ever live up to. And no matter how much you grow or change, the ideal self shifts too, staying just out of reach. You're not falling short. You're competing with something that doesn't exist, the cycle that keeps you stuck. Feeling not enough doesn't happen once. It becomes a repeating loop your brain mistakes for safety. It starts with fear, the fear of failing, disappointing someone, or not measuring up. That fear triggers perfectionism, pushing you to work harder, fix more, control everything, and avoid mistakes at all costs. Then comes burnout. Your mind and body hit their limit, and the exhaustion leads to a slip, a delay, or a moment where you simply can't keep up. Your brain interprets that moment as proof of its worst belief. See? Not enough. The shame reinforces the fear, and the cycle starts over. Fear, perfection, burnout, shame, fear again. The loop continues not because you're failing, but because your brain thinks the cycle is protecting you from something worse. You're not stuck because you're weak. You're stuck because the brain doesn't know it can choose another pattern. The truth that breaks the pattern. The feeling of not enough doesn't end by achieving more, fixing more, or becoming perfect. It ends when you finally recognize the pattern for what it is. Psychology calls this cognitive updating, the moment when your brain realizes that an old belief no longer fits your current reality. When you understand that worth isn't earned through performance, the nervous system can stop treating every mistake like a threat. Instead of chasing perfection, the brain can shift towards psychological flexibility, the ability to make choices without fear shaping every decision. This is where good enough stops sounding like settling and starts sounding like freedom. It's the point where effort matters more than outcome, and identity stops revolving around what you produce. You don't grow by becoming the imagined version of yourself that never makes mistakes. You grow by allowing yourself to be human, flawed, learning, adapting, and still worthy. The truth is simple, but life-changing. You were never supposed to earn enoughness. You were supposed to recognize it. When you step back and look at the pattern, you can see it clearly. The pressure, the comparison, the chasing, the fear. None of it began with who you are now. It all started with a younger version of you trying to understand the world and earn a sense of safety in it. But you're not living in those old moments anymore. You don't have to measure your worth the way you were taught. And you don't have to spend your life trying to reach a version of yourself that doesn't exist. If this video helps you understand the weight you've been carrying, and you want more explanations like this, the kind that make life feel a little clearer, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. See you next time.